I have to tell people as a mechanic, as a clock repairman, I got to tell you how to take care of them. The clocks I love are the ones that are not working, and I get them and make them work again. And once I've got them working, I move on. Yeah, gonna hear a lot of that in here. There's all kinds of addictions out there. There's people stick things in their arm, there's people drink. My addiction is clock. I guess I've always been handy. I like to do woodwork. And so building something, making something, and being able to produce something has been it. I was born in Denver, Colorado. I didn't have a history with a father. Got to see very little of him. He worked for the railroad. He didn't have the strength, maybe is the right word, to go out and play baseball. And I had other people, other kids around my place that we played. Because I was so young, I didn't get to go out and see the mountains. I didn't get to go out and see the big city and all that kind of stuff. I was too young. I lost my father when I was 12. My mom couldn't stay in Denver because she didn't have the money. And my grandparents lived in Nebraska, so we moved back in with my grandparents. Most people here at Scottsbluff or in Omaha and that kind of thing. It was a little town called Mitchell, Nebraska. I had met my wife and her family, so I got connected to them, and they were farming people. I got married at an early age and started a family right away, and so I didn't get to go out and spend a lot of time worrying about what the world was doing. I've just been a small town boy, and everything just developed for me over time, and I figured I'd work in a grocery store all my life. That's what I grew up on, and to go into the field of being a jeweler and design jewelry and all that kind of stuff, pretty amazing. If you can't repair a clock and make it work right, there's something wrong, in my view. But I'm the old school. That's how we did it back then. Today, it's like different. Unfortunately, I got a divorce about the time that they were going to school and so forth. I had a really tough time with my divorce. It wasn't so much I felt my wife, it was my kids. They needed to be with their mother and not me. I became very depressed, and so I was living in the back of my store. Somebody said, well, you ought to go get some help. So I drove over to the hospital at about 10 o'clock one evening and went up, knocked on the door. Door opened about this far. Somebody's looking out and said, what can we do for you? I said, I come check myself in. And they said, who's with you? I said, nobody. Oh, you should have a policeman or minister or family. I said, see that car out there? That's mine. And they opened the door and I went in. I guess they probably saved my life in some aspect. I learned a lot. I became a helper to them, dealing with people. And a young girl cut her wrist because some boy didn't ask her to the prom. And I thought, you know, I'm sitting here bitching about what I have, what happened to me, and you see all these different people and stuff that they're going through. It just kind of woke me up. So I'm alive, I'm good, I'm healthy. All right, so I may have to wait a little while for my kids to square it up because they don't have a choice. So you can walk out here, have a tough day, walk out here and say, man, that's a piece of crap where I live. Or you can walk out here and see something beautiful and say, wow, God sure made a nice day. It's up to us. I won a trip. I'd go 5 different places, and I chose Florida, one of the resorts out on the ocean. And I was with another set of friends who ran a thrift store back in my little hometown. We saw a garage sale sign, kind of into that. I said, let's go, what the heck, we're right here, let's go. There was a lady there that was having a sale. She gave me her name and phone number, and we became friends, and then I moved out here to be with her. I had a store here on Cypress. I called it a semi-retirement clock shop. I had no idea it'd be this crazy. I had no idea. There were 4 of us, 4 guys sharing clocks, and the other 3 have gone. I'm not happy about cornering the marker. I'd like to have a couple where I can say, yeah, I can't fix this, but take it over here to Joe Blow and have him, get something done. You had a window, being able to take it in, repair it, and get it back to the customer, usually 30 days. And all of a sudden now it can be anywhere from 3 to 5 months. And I hate that. I'm sitting back going, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to get that done. And people say, oh, don't worry about it done, just call us when it's ready. Once I get it done, I'm done with it. I move on to the next step. But to make it work and make sure that, you're going to have a customer that's going to enjoy it, that's the key to it. I'm into the old antique type of thing. I've seen some really nice, beautiful grandfather clocks, tall, old. Then we get a lot of the mantle clocks that have been around for 150 years. I'm into that. I saw that in a shop, and it had an old man and a bunch of old clocks sitting down on the floor, sitting around repairing clocks. And I said, gee, that looks like me. Hi there. Look, I'm going to work. All right. How are we doing? I met Burt Reynolds out in Jupiter Farms. He was in the process of doing a movie, and they had a flyby by some helicopters, and people came out of the helicopters and had no idea it was even going to happen. And it was pretty amazing. And all of a sudden they're gone. The old stars and so forth. You didn't know them personally, but you knew them because you've seen them in the movies. I guess part of it is because of your age, you start looking at it, where before when you're young, you don't even look at it. You know what? So what? Move on. It just all of a sudden kind of hit me mentally that I was 81 years old, and I have other friends that are in their mid-80s, and I'm seeing them sliding down. I said, and that's all made a big difference too. You just start missing some of the people that were part of your lives. I don't know how to handle it. I really don't. I try not to dwell on it, but sometimes it just gets in your face. But when you get older and it gets closer to you, you start paying attention to it. I had a son who passed away, and all of a sudden it really hits you then. Not that old, but we didn't even see it coming. Had, unfortunately, an alcoholic demeanor, went through a divorce, couldn't handle it, didn't go in and try and get help, and caught up with him. There's the areas you don't even want to go back to. You don't even want to step into the thinking process of those things. My mother's buried back in Nebraska. The son who passed away is buried next to her, and I will be buried next to him. That's as close as I can get. They got it's not a faraway place. This is my son and his two daughters. Well, I'm still very close to them and their mother. Mm-hmm. And I just, it's hard. It's hard. Well, there's a side of me that says, I want to say I'm sorry that I'm not in their life as much as I'd like to be. In fact, some of my great-grandchildren, I'm not hardly even in their lives because they're back in Nebraska. You get locked into being in your own world, and sometimes it's hard to go back in and say, I want to spend more time with them. When the kids have come out here, God, we can't spend enough time together. But I guess it's more or less saying, geez, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be more with you and do more things with you and be more part of your life, or you be more part of my life. If I was back there in Nebraska, I probably would have tried to talk them into it. But sometimes working with somebody and being related to them is different too. They're not interested in it, but that's like anything else. You got to have a love for it. I'm guessing I'm just going to have to try and sell it before that happens, or we blow out sales or something. But I'm going to have to start doing it before long. There's schools, but most of the schools are like in New York and some of the big areas. So I just feel like you almost need to go back into those areas and say, hey, we got a shop in Jupiter, Florida, and see what happens. I have a very good friend who's an artist and made good money being an artist. And, you sit back and say, well, I could have been an artist. I like drawing and so forth. But they take their project and they make it and they hang it and you see it. I'll repair a clock and people don't even see what I've done. They just know it's running. And you have to go down there and get the little tiny tools, and I'm looking at them and saying, yeah, I'm still able to do this. And most people see the outside of the clock, they don't see the inside of the clock. It's like a hidden treasure type of thing.